Hi, welcome back to Real Talk with Diane and Gabriella. I want to thank, first of all of you that did tune into our intro telling what our plans was here about our podcast and all of those that you can recommend, whatever, and that we had pretty decent response. Not, we're not where we want to be, but it was the intro video. So this topic here. I'm going to let Gabriella introduce the topic and start off, and then I'll join in.
We had a little bit of technical difficulties before, so if we seem a little out of it, we're redoing this again.
Yeah, it's almost like we had about half an hour into our other one, had a lot of good material and everything in there, and it's just like maybe we even caught an orb. Maybe something is trying to say, hey, just hold off. We look a little worn. Oh, she looks good all the time, though. So but me, we got our new puppies on Wednesday, and we've been chasing puppies all around the house. Hardly getting the sleep that we need because, of course, you have to put them like in a little kennel or at night, uh, and we're training them and everything else. Um, but we did introduce the puppies on the one that we had to kind of scratch because, of course, we want everything live. We don't want to have to do any editing. So we'll reintroduce them probably on our Wednesday's podcast and talk about the puppies and that a little bit then, along with whatever subject we decide upon on Wednesday. But Gabriella, go ahead.
I'm trying to find. So, our subject today, which is going to go probably all over the place because it always does, is Stanley Cups. Now, I'm not talking about, for all of the hockey fans out there, that Stanley Cup. I'm talking about the thermal cups that if you put cold stuff in it, it'll keep cold. If you put hot stuff in it, it'll keep it hot. That's what I'm talking about. So the craze started when this wonderful lady had her car blow up. And the only thing that survived in it was you guessed it, Stanley Cup! That's how this started. Now, from there on, it has been nothing but madness. Nothing but nothing but madness.
Right. Again, we're like, if we speak coherently tonight, give us a big applause at the end of the video because
words just sound like letters now. They don't even sound like words. They're just
because our puppies are like three little rambunctious toddlers.
Yep,
back to you.
They are. So, anyways, it started from that, and then it spiraled out of control, and now we got stories and news articles of people stealing Stanley Cups, buying Stanley Cups, stealing them out of people's hands. And the one main example that I have for you today is Selena Spooky Boo. She's an influencer. She's on YouTube as the same username and on TikTok as the same username. And I think the video got deleted or something because I cannot find it anywhere, but there are people who have duetted it, so you can see part of it, and depending on how much that they duet that from, you can see the video that we're talking about. But she's basically like, am I going crazy? What is the craze about the Stanley Cup? I don't understand. Like, it is just a cup, right? And I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, it is just a cup. Because apparently she had an experience herself. And hers was, she walked into a Starbucks, which we had this discussion before, and I thought it was a Target, but it was a Starbucks now that I think of it.
And I won the bet, and we in the original video that we tried, she said, if she's right, if mom's right, everybody give a big clap at the end of the video. My clap.
She wants her clap.
Please,
so please.
Please. I was right.
Please
I'm not the geezer sometimes that people think that I am.
A clap and a like.
Yeah, because my brain works real good, even though I'm old.
So anyways, back to the story.
Yes.
Selena Spooky Boo walked into a Starbucks because she just wanted to buy a coffee. Well, she spotted this cup, which apparently was the super rare pink Starbucks limited edition Stanley Cup. Everybody was going crazy over it. This one lady was behind her and started breathing down her neck, and she was like, and Selena was like, kind of like, okay. And she's like, I need that cup. And Selena's like, I was going to buy this for a friend. And then she was like, I don't care. I need that cup. I know Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I need that cup. Almost as if she was going to give it to Gypsy, but you and I both know that probably wasn't going to happen.
Or I thought when you told me that she was insinuating, hey, I can get it in other ways if you don't give it to me because I know.
Well, okay,
That's
yeah.
I don't know though.
There's so many different ways to interpret it. The way that I took it was that she was like, "Oh, I was totally gonna give that to Gypsy. Like,
I might be
stole it from probably." Anyway, so she said that, and she's like, okay," and then she was standing in line. Selena Spookaboo was standing in line to buy it, and the lady grabbed it out of her hand and bought it for herself.
And she walked out of the Starbucks, and she was out there because I guess she was filming, or she decided to film out there just long enough to say, "What the heck just happened to me?" Like,
no, it was at her house.
It was at her house. I thought she was out in the park.
She was outside, but it was outside of her house.
Oh, okay.
Because she came back and she was like, this crazy bitch.
Yeah, because me personally, I didn't know any of this when she first told me about, hey, Mom, did you hear all this craziness over the Stanley Cup? Like she said at the beginning, I'm thinking, Lord Stanley, the Stanley Cup, the hockey trophy. And they're like, what? Do they have a special edition? What's going on? And then she said, no, Mom, it's the thermal cup, like the Yeti cup.
Yep, it's not for our nice, awesome hockey fans out there. Nope, it's a cup. It's just simply a cup. Another story is this woman, she stole over $2,700 worth of Stanley Cups, probably to resell them, but she stole them. And they are, by the way, I think it's only the limited edition ones, and they're being resold for the same value. $400.
I just don't get it. I wouldn't pay when I was in South Carolina, and especially when I was working in H&R Block. The big thing down in South Carolina are Yeti cups, and when H&R Block gave them away as some of the prizes that they gave away, like I think it was weekly. Yeti cups. Everybody wanted. I want that Yeti cup. I want that Yeti cup. And they're like, "What's the big deal? It's a cup. I can go to Walmart. I can go to the Dollar General, and I can get a cup that's a thermal cup like that does the hot and does the cold for a fraction of the cost." I don't know. Maybe I just don't get the whole big.
There's no reason to be crazy over this cup, but it literally all stemmed from that lady who.
But how about the kids? The kids getting these cups.
Yeah. So there's another story about the Stanley Cups. The kids, all of the kids, since they see their favorite influencers buying a Stanley Cup or seeing everybody in the world going crazy over these Stanley Cups, that's all they want. And they're so spoiled nowadays that if that's what they want, that's what they get. And like I said, these specific ones that are at Starbucks, I don't know if they are anymore because I'm pretty sure it was limited edition. They were pink Starbucks Stanley Cups and were $400. Why would you pay that much for a cup?
And in the video that we kind of had to scrap, the thing is these parents, I understand, if you want your kid to have a Stanley Cup and you want to buy it for them, fine and dandy. But when you get these kids going into Starbucks, first of all, I don't know where these kids are getting all of this money. Starbucks is not cheap. Going in buying all this Starbucks stuff to begin with. But when they're going into Starbucks and they're literally taking a tantrum in the Starbucks store for a Stanley Cup, and some of them, they just don't want one. They want 2, 3, 4 Stanley Cups. And where are they getting this money, and why are the parents getting it for them. Like a lot of families that I know are two working members. The mother and father are working members, and a lot of latchkey kids. Then where are they getting this money, and why are the parents? I mean, maybe you feel bad because the kids are home alone, but come on, at the same time, if they want a $400 cup, tell them use their allowance. Tell them to go out and mow lawn for neighbors. Tell them to do this. Tell them to do that. Like it just, I don't understand. I don't know. Kids know how to give parents a guilt trip, and that no. Reward them at Christmas time. Buy them one at Christmas. But come this Christmas time of this year, you'll probably be able to get the Stanley Cup, the Starbucks limited edition, maybe $100 or less.
Resold.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. But speaking of spoiled children, Sephora. Sephora, everybody has been talking about. If you go on TikTok, if you go on Facebook, if you go on Instagram, there's at least one influencer that you will find that just wanted to buy 3 products in Sephora. These spoiled little brats, about 10 to 11-year-old, which shouldn't have even have enough money to even buy one product from Sephora, are stealing products either off the shelves and just running away with them, not asking anybody for help or anything, no parents in sight, stealing them off of people because they're like, oh my god, you're too old to be wearing that anyway, and just being rude. Like, this one influencer, I don't know her name, and I've never seen her before, but I have watched this one video of her, and she was like, what is up with these 10 and 11-year-olds in Sephora now? They're so spoiled. She's like, I went to go get my face, it wasn't primer, what was it? Moisturizer. It was the Drunk Elephant moisturizer stuff. That stuff is so popular with the younger generation for some reason. I don't know. But she wanted it because she ran out of it. She's an adult. She's obligated to get it. Apparently not, because this 10, 11-year-old girl came up with all of her little friends, started bullying this adult woman and saying, if you don't give it to me, then you're gonna be in trouble or something like that. And then she was like, you're too old to be wearing things like that anyway, and snatched it out of her hand and went and bought it herself.
That's messed up. And she's telling me too about some of these kids. Like, why are parents letting these kids get away with this anyhow? What bothers me is she was telling me about these kids that went in there. I think I'm hoping you remember. And they literally like kind of threaten their parents. I am not leaving this store until you buy me these products.
The thing that she's talking about is there was these spoiled 10, 11-year-old girls, and she was with her friends, and her mother didn't even know that she went in Sephora. I guess it was at a mall or something, and she snuck into Sephora and went to go buy some stuff. And she had like over 50 items in her little shopping thing. And her mom came in and she was like, what do you think you're doing? She's like, I'm paying for my items. And then she's like, no, you're not. I said you could get 3 things. And she was like, but I want all of this and I'm not leaving the store until I get it. And you're not going to make me. Like,
and the stupid. I'm sorry. I'm calling parents are stupid enough to freaking let the kids threaten them. Like, who's the parent here? I'm old school parent. Not to interrupt you. I'm old school parent. My kids, every one of them knew. We went into a store. You don't tell me what to do. We go into the store. You behave yourself. Chances are you're going to walk out of that store something that you wanted. You act up, you take your feet, you talk to me in that way, you guess what? I looked at my kids say, okay, it's either you behave yourself and you get what I told you, or we turn around and nobody gets anything, including us. We walk out, we go home, take you back, get somebody to watch it, and we go back to the store and get what we need. these parents giving in to these kids like that, no, the kids shouldn't be raising the parents. The parents are supposed to be raising the kids. It's a little thing called respect, and the kids these days, very few have respect. And
Thankfully, that mother, though, she did say, "We're leaving the store and I'm not buying you anything."
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
she
good.
was like,
Yay!
"I'm not buying
Cheers to
you
you,
a
Mama.
single thing since you're gonna act like a brat."
Yeah, good, good,
But
good.
the other ones, there's just so many. If you just search up 11-year-old Sephora, you'll probably find it.
Like I said, it's sad because there are a lot of latchkey kids because of two parents having to work. But even with latchkey kids, I mean, it's sad. I mean, you want to reward your kids, give them something because of the fact that they have to be home alone or help raise some of their younger siblings. But there's a line that needs to be drawn where how much you should do and where you should stop.
And I'm sorry, but I don't think that a 10 or 11-year-old should be buying makeup. They don't need it. They don't have anything that they need to cover up. I understand that maybe they want to be a beauty influencer when they grow up, or they see mommy or even daddy now put on makeup and just, they like the way that it looks on them. But makeup, and especially like skincare products for a 10 and 11-year-old, unless you're showing signs of maturity and you have like acne and you really want to take care of your skin, I really don't think that they should be allowed to. And the most popular thing right now is the Drunk Elephant moisturizer with the bronzing drops. They are so spoiled that they will go and find these bronzing drops. They're pretty much sold out everywhere because everybody's buying them. All the influencers, they put it in the thing, they mix it around, put it on their face. You have a nice little bronzy look on their face. And these little girls are following after them, but they're so spoiled that they will either steal it out of someone's hand or just steal it, not buy it at all, walk out of the store, and they don't even do anything about
I
it.
think that's what bothers me too, because leading back to like kids, like my kids ever got caught stealing anything from the store, which they're pretty good. Like there was an incident every now and then, like I'm not going to say which one of my daughters, but one of my daughters, we went to the store years ago and we got up to the counter. They wanted a candy bar. I said, I'm not buying you a candy bar. Wait till we go home, maybe later in that. Like I'm not going to get you one. And because I bought them, I believe some other candy. I bought them something else, and kind of taking a fit. I want a candy bar. I want a candy bar. I said, well, even if I did think about getting you one because you're taking a fit, I'm not buying you one now. No, you don't tell me what to buy you. I'm the one that decides. So we go out to the car and get ready to go home, and I hear this crinkling in the back seat. And I'm thinking, what is that? And I look back, and my one daughter was opening up the candy bar that she wanted. So got out of the car, got her, walked into this store, went up to the counter. They said, yeah, can I help you? And I said, yeah, my daughter has something she needs to tell you. So she kind of was a little hesitant, so I kind of helped her say, we didn't buy this candy bar. Now I understand, the store, the store kind of like, oh, don't worry about it. And they're like, no, I don't want my kid to think that going in and if they don't get something bought for them that they wanted, that it's okay to just take it. And that's going to be okay. That's slapping them on the hand for doing something wrong. So I paid for it, and thank goodness the cashier did say, honey, you can't be doing that. I could have called the cops after I kind of gave them the eyeballs and that, hey, no, don't let this. But getting back, I mean, you can't let this stuff happen here. It's getting too crazy.
I want to know where these kids are getting this much money.
But that's just it. Like, we're not poor, but we're not rich either. And
The Drunk Elephant stuff alone is like $30.
and where are these kids getting the money? Like, I mean, I've heard stories where these kids got their parents' credit card somehow, and online, you can, if you know how to do it right. Now, these kids can order a shitload of stuff with their parents' credit cards, and like, what's going on? I mean, and if you look at all of this, it goes back to when the Tickle Me Elmo and the Cabbage Patch doll craze, and that was all going on. I must have this. My kid needs this. Well, at that time, those things were expensive too, and when I was working at KB Stores years ago, the Tickle Me Elmo, after I closed that night, I go home and I find out that one woman stabbed another just to get the damn Tickle Me Elmo because her kid needed it. Um, why did that kid need it? And right, that was on a Black Friday, by the way. I worked a lot of Black Fridays. A week prior to Black Friday and the week after, the weeks after Black Friday, those things they go on sale a lot cheaper than what they were at that time.
That's even like the hoverboards. They were such a crazy thing like a few years ago, like maybe 2, 3 years ago. And people don't really talk about it anymore, but it was crazy, so much so that nobody was paying attention to the directions or anything of it, and they started blowing up and catching on fire.
Yep.
And then, all of a sudden they were bad for you. No, you don't give a little kid a thing like a hoverboard and expect it to be in pristine condition for as long as possible.
Well, you remember when the Xboxes first came out? Well, you were pretty young yet. When they first came out, they were overheating and catching on
Xbox
fire.
360.
And those things were freaking expensive too. I was working at Toys R Us at that time, and like I said, I worked Black Friday and that, and people were like, literally, my kid has to have this, and they're like, it's nice. It is a good Christmas present and everything, but just kind of like before you go berserk and start grabbing stuff out of people's shopping carts and beating the shit out of people to get these, either the week up till, and like I said, by working at Toys R Us, I saw how the sales worked. The sales 90% of the time after Black Friday and on Cyber Monday was always a lot better than the Black Friday sales themselves. Like it's not worth somebody getting hurt, somebody getting killed. Can you imagine going and you're trying to get this nice gift for your kid, and some asshole comes up and stabs you because they wanted it more and they couldn't wait, and you have to tell your kid, well, this Christmas you have a dead parent because somebody stabbed over a freaking thing that they really didn't need.
This is an R-rated channel.
I could say fucking, whatever. I'm going to say it. It really, really pisses me off that people resort to that kind of violence because they have to have that item. No, you don't. My kids, I gotta say, every one of them, I gotta give them kudos. These craves that comes out, my kids wanted for a couple of years after the PlayStations came out. They wanted the PlayStation badly. I was working up at Toys R Us, and I'm there like, that's like a $400, $500 item. I'm not, that's just too much. And finally, luckily for me, I was working one day and I saw some people going through the line and everything, and they have these PlayStations in their hand and that, and they're like, why are we selling so many? Well, because the game that was in it was Uncharted. Is that what it is? Or is it Uncharted?
It was Uncharted.
Uncharted. Okay, that's what I thought. The game Uncharted was included in the bundle, and because Uncharted at that time was considered an obsolete game
in Minecraft,
I was able to get the PlayStation console for $168. When my supervisor told me that, I almost shit my pants. And they're like, my kids have wanted this. Put one aside for me. I'm going to put it on layaway, and I'll probably the end of the week I'll pay it off because my kids they've wanted one. This is my opportunity. So here it was like I think that was in July, and I got the PlayStation, and they're like, you know what? I'm not going to give it to them right now. I put it in my closet. I hid it, and when they opened it up for Christmas, I said, you know how long I've had that set? And they're like, they freaked out. They were appreciative. They like none of my kids said, Mom, I gotta have this. You gotta go out and if they did want something really bad, and for any kids that could be watching, we told them, hey, Santa Claus just couldn't make enough this year. And, we'll talk to Santa and see when we can get you one, or we'll try to get you one when we can. Every one of my kids was good about that. Thank God. Thank God. Um, I just don't get all, the parents beating the shit out of each other because their kid has to have it. And usually the people that I think the worst ones are the ones that have money, that they literally can go on eBay or they could go somewhere else and get it. Or they're saying, okay, it's not good enough. I want to have one. I have to have two.
Yep,
I had a supervisor, I'm not going to mention the name, but when I was at Toys R Us, I had a supervisor that was pretty greedy, that he, maybe I shouldn't say that, but I did anyhow, had to buy more than one of these things because he resold them on eBay and that and made money off them. All the more power to him. But when you have a limited supplies and there's something that's, I'll let your other coworkers have a chance of getting it too. Like,
again, this is disclaimer, our opinion.
it's and my PlayStation that I had for the kids, thank God that I had another supervisor that was watching out for me, because that particular supervisor was trying to claim, hey, what happened to that other one? I knew we had 2 tickets for that PlayStation. What happened to it? And I went up to him and I said, I got it. I said, I have kids that wanted a PlayStation for some time, and I got it. And
yeah,
so
the one thing you'll learn about us, me, my sister, and even kind of Chase, her fiance, is that we're big gamers. We've been playing from we've been playing games since we were yay high, and
you're really not much higher than yay high. Of course, you're yay higher than I.
I'm yay higher than you, so be quiet. No, so our brother was the one that got us really into gaming. We when we were younger, it was a PlayStation 1, right, Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah. He has a PlayStation 1 and a PlayStation 2. And we got hooked on Spyro and the little Barbie game and Monsters Inc. and just all these old games. And then we were like, these are really fun. And then it just became part of our personality. And we were like, when we saw that the PlayStation 4 had all these different options and that you could even watch YouTube on it, we were like, oh my God, we need that now. But we weren't like, Mom,
Yeah, no, no, you, and I think maybe another topic we'll bring up sometime in the future too is, and it goes along the same line as Legos. Legos are expensive. And again, going back to my Toys R Us years, I saw like there's certain families, you came in, you knew immediately what they were looking for. And we're not talking about a $20 or $30 Lego sets, which is kind of among the cheapest. We're talking about $200, $300, $400 Lego sets. And then my kid has to have this, and there they are buying it. We're not talking even on a holiday. We're talking about like, okay, it's every other week. These particular people were coming in and buying these Lego sets for that kid. And like, because some of us looked at each other up there, some of us that we worked hard for our money, and when we bought something like that, like it was, can I afford this? Should I do this? But we would look at each other when this particular one family came in and like, they're getting this kind of money. I want their job where they can do that all. Even then, even if I was rich, you don't. You want to get your kids stuff, especially, if they're latchkey kids, you want to take them something home, maybe on payday or something, to show, hey, we're sorry, honey, that we both have to work, and you have it rough, being home by yourself, especially if they have younger siblings they're helping out raising. But $200, $300, $400 Lego sets every payday, like, come on, I'm sorry. And again, like she said, these are our opinions. You don't need to agree with anything we're saying. And that's okay.
Again, we ask if you do disagree, don't be rude to us. We're not trying to hurt anybody or, throw your opinions away, but we just hope that you can understand where we're coming from.
Yeah, like she said, we're not trying to diss your opinions. You're entitled to them. And this, like I said in the intro, it'd be a whole different world if people didn't have difference of opinions. But, when it comes to that, like right now, I mean, people are working hard for their money and especially these families where both parents have to work. I lived long enough, especially with my first husband, living paycheck to paycheck and to help us out so my kids could go to the mall and go to get brand new school clothes every year for school and to go to the fair and go to an amusement park and to the mall at least maybe if not every month at least every couple months and that I just don't understand how these people are doing all of this. And
when we were younger, we would be appreciative if she brought home a chapstick.
And that's the thing. When I was growing up, like I could bring I don't no, I won't go there. When I was growing up, we weren't rich, but by the time I was the youngest sibling and my dad was retired, my mother never worked. She was a homemaker because my dad, before he retired, he was a coal miner. At that time, like I'm old, so you can imagine how old my parents were. Anyhow, when I was at home, there was times like my mom, I probably got more stuff than any of my siblings because I was the baby of the family. But there was times my mom got me clothes from Goodwill. My mom handmade me clothes. Um, I had secondhand stuff and I went to school. I didn't diss my mom and dad. They gave me food in my tummy. They put a roof over my head, and I had clothes on my back when I went to school.
I used to get hand-me-downs from Abby all the time.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, not one of my children, not one, even when I was on welfare with my first husband, not one of my children ever went to school without a couple sets of brand new clothes, new shoes, new undies, underclothes and socks, and their school supplies. There was never, ever, ever a time that they started school without having new stuff. Now, of course, down the line, there was times that there was hand-me-downs given, and they wore them. Abby and Gabriella was probably the best out of all of them for Gabriella got some of Abby's hand-me-downs. Abby got hand-me-downs from my nieces and that a couple times.
Until probably we were teenagers when we started asking, like, "Hey, Mom, can we get this article of clothing because it's in fashion and we want to fit in. We don't want to be."
But what was yours and Abby's favorite place to go, though, especially when you got to high school, when people judged you how you were dressed? What was the favorite place that you and Abby went, like, going to?
Walmart and Ross's.
And the thrift shop down the street from us. They loved going to the thrift shop.
And you could get, in the place that we were living, because I'm not going to tell you where we lived, that was a little weird. The place that we were living right down the street was a thrift stop. and thrift
Shop?
store.
Yeah, that's where it was, all right.
Store. There was a thrift store literally within walking distance of our house. And we would go there and we'd find really nice articles of clothing. Obviously, you need to wash them before you wear them because you don't know where they've been.
Always.
But, you get them for good prices. Some of them were name brand things that were just, gotten rid of. And we were like, hell yeah. I mean, I'll take the discount. It doesn't, there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. So, we bought those and we never complained.
I know. I when I was growing up, like I said, the stuff that I went to school and, like I said, I actually, even when I was in high school, made some of my own clothes because at that time smocks was popular. I don't know if you know what a smock is, but it was popular, and I would make my own smocks and go to school. And you know what? I was friends with both the popular crowd and I was friends with the real poor crowd. And I didn't care what, I didn't have to have, hey, my popular friends, look, they got fancy clothes and they got this. I need those. I didn't care. If they were my true friend, they were going to be my friend no matter how I was dressed. As long as I didn't stink, I was always clean.
Yep.
That's a true friend. You should not have to go to school and say, hey, mom,
that's another thing about this society is even when I was in high school, I dreaded being in high school or even in any type of school because if you weren't dressed right, if you didn't act like these people, if you weren't pretty enough, if you weren't tall enough, just all these things like on Mean Girl, you had to meet these requirements. You had to meet these requirements in every single little group, and if you didn't meet those requirements, then you were an outcast.
Well, here's the thing that I noticed too when I was going to school. Even if you did, say, when I was going to school with the popular crowd, not only some of them, not all of them, because I mean, I was, like I said, I was with friends with pretty much everybody, but I noticed some of the popular ones that had the real fancy clothes and that. If by chance I was lucky enough to get something or wanted something to fit in with the crowd, if I got it, not to me, I didn't see it happen, but some of my friends, they would get that particular outfit to fit in, but because they weren't pretty enough and they weren't popular enough, those popular girls would look at them like, look at her, she's got that outfit on like I'm wearing. Yeah, and she shouldn't be wearing that. Why is she trying to fit in like that? They judge you. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, or nowadays, you will think, they're being nice to you, and they're just like on Mean Girls. They're like, oh, I really like your skirt today. And then right behind your back, they'll talk to their little friends and be like, that was the ugliest fucking skirt I've ever seen.
And or it was the same skirt. Why did she buy that? She trying to copy me? Well, that ain't gonna work.
That's the thing with today's society. That's like, oh, it really gets me. Is guys can wear the same thing.
And segueing again, and I know where you're going.
Guys can wear the same thing. They're like, yo, bro, that's awesome. Where did you shop? Oh, that's cool. I shop at the same store. You want to be pals? Let's talk about cars, that type of thing.
That don't happen with women or girls.
We'll walk outside with the same dress on. Let's just say, I'm wearing a nice little sundress, and Betty Boo Peep comes down the freaking sidewalk and says, what do you think you're doing? And I'll be like, freaking walking here. She's like, you're wearing the same thing as me, but I wore it better. And I just continue on.
Yep. That's how they are too. It's ridiculous. But
you can't have the same shirt on. You can't have the same pants on. You can't have the same dress on. If you're female and another female sees you and she thinks that she's all that in a bag of potatoes.
See, and that was another thing. When, like I said, I know I'm weird compared to others. I'm different in so many ways. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else. Please don't take that wrong. It was like I made a comment to one of my friends about a Christmas present. And they said, well, if I would have known that, I would have bought you a Christmas present too. Well, and I know they're going to know who I'm talking about, and I really don't care. That's not how I meant it. And I meant it as a thank you card or a I hope you're feeling better card, because at that time I had COVID and I was in an accident and I was recovering from all that. Um, but I don't even know where I was going on that, because it
Today's
was just,
society
it's
is
just,
just fucked up. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
gonna go out and say it. I used to be so outgoing, in I'd say middle school, and then as I got higher up in my grades, I started becoming less and less interactive with people, and I started becoming more and more shy and more like realizing that if you can't please these people, there's no point in
And
trying.
it's worse, not to interrupt you, it's worse when you're a female, because females are horrible against each other. When you're in high school and you're a male, you can be best buddies. And I mean, you have your little crowds also among the males, but they pretty much, like, they're pretty cool with each other no matter what, no matter how they dress, like she said
They
and
can
everything.
pretty much go in different little groups
Yeah.
and be fine because they're guys.
And
They're
if
just like,
and if it's a girl, like I tried to warn Abby and Gabriella, especially when they were in school, because times have changed so much from the time my oldest daughter was growing up. Um, I warned them, that's going to be the toughest part of growing up is your high school years, because girls get vicious. They get just downright vicious. You're not pretty enough. What's wrong with your
if you
hair?
don't
What
wear
kind
the
of clothes are you
you
wearing?
don't wear the same type of perfume as them, you don't have any makeup on, just little things will piss off these girls to where you can't even speak to them without them being like, ew, don't talk to me.
And for anybody, we're not playing the like, oh, like poor woe's me girls. No, it's women have it tough in this world, whether guys want to believe it or not. Women do not get paid the same wages. Women do not get treated the same. And over the last course of X amount of years, not getting into certain subjects, it, women are losing. We're almost going back to when men, it was everything men, 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 women couldn't vote, and this, we're kind of almost resorting back to that. And it's scary and it's sad, because I know there's feminist groups and that out there that are fighting, for women's rights and stuff. And it's not an, oh, woe is me thing. These are factual. When you're a female and you're in high school or you're in certain groups, you get judged not like men do. Like, even in jobs, like I've been in situations myself where I knew that I had more time and I could do better than some of the males that I worked with, and because they were male, they got more recognition. Toys R Us again, and how you can tell the difference how men and women are treated. Let's speak electronics. When we went out on the floor, or we worked anywhere close to our zone, you had to pretty much be knowledgeable on the electronics that was in the electronic showcase. And I knew enough to make the sale. I was pretty good on the sales floor. I was pretty good up at the front end. But I remember one time in particular, this guy comes up and he starts asking me a ton of questions about, I think, one of the consoles or something. And I told him everything I knew. I told him all the specs of the item, answered every question they asked me just like that. And, oh, okay. And one of my coworkers came over, and I'll be damned if that gentleman didn't ask him the exact same questions that I just answered. And he's, oh, wow. Like his reaction was so totally different, like I didn't even speak to him. And this has been going on, and it's kind of getting worse when it comes to women and men. We can go on a whole list of.
Getting back to though when I was saying how, I went from being super outgoing to who I am now, which you couldn't tell through this because I'm comfortable with my family, I'm comfortable in my own household. If I have to go out, I we used to live in South Carolina, and from South Carolina, it's like I never started having panic attacks until we moved there. And then I started, having all these health issues, and I started hating myself, and I started, just downing myself because of the people I was around and because of, the things that people are expecting from people nowadays. Like, if you're not pretty enough, if you're not curvy enough, if you're not wearing like tons and tons of makeup to where you do this and you already, like, you don't have a certain hairstyle, you don't speak a certain way. There's just certain things nowadays that are completely different from like when she was in school. And another topic that I want to get on to is I hate when girls are like uh saying to other girls, we don't have Adam's apple. Everybody has an Adam's apple. Girls are usually less prevalent than boys. Look, that's my Adam's apple.
Girls have Adam's apples, well, in between my wrinkles.
You literally, like, it's right there. Everybody has an Adam's apple. I was born a female. I am a female. I have an Adam's apple.
But, I mean, like we said, we covered a lot tonight. It's just ridiculous. I mean, we could go on and on and on and on. We don't want this to go so long where you say,
I just had to get that out of my system.
We're going to turn this off. They're just rambling on and on. But that's what a podcast is all about. We want to make you feel comfortable.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
We eventually will have, or at least try to have, those microphones that most of the podcast people have, to make them more genuine. And we definitely will have better quality on our videos.
Well, we were going to use a video camera that we used in our investigations, but in our last investigation, we're not going to say where it was at. And we don't know what's going to happen because there's a little bit of a dispute among members of yes and no, what we should do. But to make a long story short, one of the things that particular place said was that they had a lot of issues with the audio on their equipment fucking up. And lo and behold, now we don't edit this video, these will not be edited, but when we went to start editing video to cut out stuff that we didn't need enough for our lurking spirits, lo and behold, our whole videotape had no audio in it whatsoever. And where they're like, okay, what's going on? My daughter, Abby, that does the editing, was checking everything, saying, well, maybe there's just something in the editing program. Took out the camera, started trying to film something else, and lo and behold, the camera itself, the whole audio it like messed the whole audio up on the video, and it messed the audio up on my camera. So I'm going to have my husband see if he can troubleshoot and see what happened.
I even tried looking in the settings. I tried doing everything. I even tried recording like she did,
but I don't know if we're going to get the video out. I'm hoping we're fighting to get something, even if we have to put a disclaimer saying, hey, we're so sorry, but this kind of almost solidifies. They said they had audio problems. Our whole camera, the audio is gone on it. Brand new camera. I've only had it for a little over a year.
There's not even one single clip that has video.
But I will say, I'm not going to say exactly what happened, but something happened in that place that was not, it was really bad for Gabriella and it was bad for Eric. And I don't want to get in details right now because that could be something maybe we could bring up sometime in the future.
All I can say is negative energy.
And she was traumatized. Like, like she was literally shaken so bad.
If you've been on, wow, I look really, really pale right here. Let's just back up a little bit.
I don't know if they're going to be able to see that on there.
I don't know if they'll be able to see it either. But this is a hematite ring. And that is a mineral that if it gathers so much negative energy, it will eventually break. It will just split in half and break. Well, I've had this ring since we moved here.
It would have been, we moved here in June. You bought that at the fair, right?
Yeah.
That would have been September of last year.
Yeah, so pretty much since we moved in, a little bit later.
More or less, yeah, a couple months after we moved in.
But I bought this ring. It's a hematite ring, and it's supposed to break if there's so much negative energy attached to it. And, I have doubts about myself, and I'm very insecure, which you couldn't tell right now because I'm just in my natural state of whatever the fuck you want to call this. But I bought it to see if, how negative as a person I am, and if it was going to break. Like, I've seen videos on TikTok that was spiraling around that this person only had it for a day and it broke, and this other person only had it for a week and it broke. And I was like, there's no way that these.
Trust me, see how long that would have lasted with all the shit that was going on in your room down at the other house. Because there was not so much negative, but towards the end when we was moving out, there was something that did not want us to move out and was letting us know.
For that specific reason, and nothing. There was no cracks on it, no little hairline scratches or anything. But now, since we went to that place, it's got a crack down the middle of it, and you're not gonna be able to see it probably because the light.
Yeah, I don't think.
Oh no, you can see it
right there. It is.
Yep, it's got a really big crack down the middle of it, and which means it's probably gonna break any day now. And that just goes to prove how much negative energy was actually in that place. If I've had it for this long, not even a little hairline plaque in it.
All the videos, not to interrupt you, all the videos that we did, all the places we went, I'm not one that I like using the word demonic or evil or anything like that, but when I saw what happened to her and how traumatized she was and how upset my son was, like kind of shaken, and what she described to me exactly what happened to her and how she felt, I'm going to use the word, I think there was something not good in there. I think it might have been evil or even demonic. I don't know if somebody, because on our spirit talker too, we were getting words like hex, witchcraft, murdered, sacrifice, like a lot of stuff pertaining to witchcraft and stuff.
We're starting to think that maybe it was conjured.
There's something going on there, and
it was only in that one room.
Yeah,
it's like everywhere else is perfectly fine. And even when you first walked in that room, you were kind of like, it feels weird in here, but I don't think anything bad can happen in here. You sit down or you just chill there for a few minutes, and you're like, I don't know, man, I'm starting to feel
even in that
weird.
room when we went down the hall into the other room, even when because she had to sit down before we left out of that area. She had to sit down because something was happening. And as I was watching her to make sure that she was all right, and I'm seeing all these witchcraft and ritual stuff and that showing up on the spirit talker, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm standing there and I felt like my head started like spinning a little bit, but it almost felt like I don't know if I can say that I left my body, but how can I explain it? I knew I was standing there, but I felt like I was looking at somebody else standing there. It wasn't me. Like, I didn't feel like me. Like, but I knew that was me, if that makes any sense. It's just something wasn't right, and I felt almost a couple times at the verge, like as if I was gonna pass out. Like, it was just the weirdest, strangest feeling. And then when we got up, because we said, okay, we need to get out of here, and she got as bad as what she was literally like shaking like that.
I was having a panic.
I had to hold her and walk with her to make sure she was okay until we got down out of that area. And it was pretty frightful. And
I've never felt the way that
I've never seen her like that
in that building. And it was really scary. It was probably the scariest moment of my life.
But we'll talk about this kind of stuff on one of our future, like, because like we said before, we don't want to have this tied in. I mean, we want to try to have that totally separate, but there are going to be times that the subject that we are going to talk about, ironically, will be um, the afterlife and spiritual
And
stuff
again, we
like
want
that.
you guys to comment down below your suggestions on what we should make the next video. Like, we're down for anything.
Yeah, and please, please, because I mean, we want you to feel like you're right here with us. And this one here, I know, is kind of we're what, almost at an hour now,
Yep,
maybe.
55
Yeah.
minutes.
We don't want it where you're gonna say, "Oh shit," there they go again, rambling on. But we want your suggestions, good or bad. I mean, you can say something bad, but not demeaning. Like, hey, I think you guys rambled on too much and you segued too much, whatever. Okay, well, we understand that. You can say that. But then keep in mind again, too, we did say this is going to be unedited and that we probably would kind of travel back and forth and that between, segue things a lot. That's my favorite word lately, I say. And, we just, we would like suggestions. Please tell people about our channel. We're not out for so many views or anything, but I mean, we want to know that you're watching and that you like what we're doing. It's for you more than it is for us, although it does help us because we both have self-esteem problems.
Yes.
So I think if you view in and give us the views, give us the likes, and especially subscribe, it's going to make us feel a little
It's
bit better about ourselves.
entertainment for you guys, and then almost like therapy.
Therapy for us, both of us.
Because not only are we telling our truths, but we're also going to try and help out you guys if you need our help with
And that could be
anything.
something that we can talk about, low self-esteem and stuff like that. I know I touched base with it on the intro. Like I got into some debates with people and they just got downright ugly. Said, "Oh, like who would do that anyhow? You're fat and you're ugly and you're old," and like just said awful things. I mean, I personally think I'm fat and ugly and old. I mean, she gets on me. I can't help that. I can't change that. I'm not young. I'm not young. I'm retired now. If that gives you any idea of how old I really am, but I have as long as I can remember, I hate having people are even taking my pictures and I hate it with a passion, but I'm trying to overcome that. And she has such self-esteem problems and she's such a beautiful young girl. She shouldn't have self-esteem problems, but she does. So we're trying to do this and not only so for your entertainment, like she said, but for our self-esteem, you're going to give us therapy. The more we see that you're tuning in, and the more people you're telling to subscribe, you're helping us. And if we can return the favor and help somebody else out there in our viewing audience, that's our goal. We want to touch subjects that's going to be therapy for you too. We love you. We appreciate you tuning in and giving us any kind of support. We get popular enough, like we said in our intro, we can get sponsors. We can do special things to help you. Nobody should be sitting there in their house thinking, "I'm so ugly. I hate myself," to the point where they're maybe even suicidal. We want to try to help people get beyond that. We don't want them to feel that way because we've both had people say stuff to us that should never be said. Just
Mine right now, one of my major insecurities is my psoriasis. Yeah, I know it sounds stupid,
which you can't tell here. She's
but
beautiful.
I have psoriasis right here. It's going away only because I've been putting some ointment on it, but it only stays away for like a few months and then it comes back like super strong. That was my foot.
Okay.
I have psoriasis here, and sometimes it spreads down to my entire body. I have little patches on my legs. I got, some right there and there, right there, I think.
And she does. She gets paranoid, but she's beautiful. I mean,
It's
look at her.
everywhere, and this stems back to. I'm gonna try not to get emotional. Um, when I was like really, really young, and
I know where you're going.
we went to the zoo the one time, and this couple, I mean, I know that they weren't English, they were from a different country, but they came over and they started looking at me and like I was diseased or something. And I was like, I'm just a kid. Like, what am I supposed to do? I can't control this. And, that's kind of what makes me super insecure about my psoriasis now. And I've been trying to cover it up. I tried covering it up with makeup. Obviously, that doesn't work because it's dry patches all over you.
But guys, I mean, her psoriasis at that time was worse. But look at her. Look at this face. This is a beautiful girl. We've been telling her that, and this is our whole thing about these videos and that. Nobody should have to feel that way. This girl, she could have big pimples all over her face. She's beautiful. Look at these eyes. Her eyes take up a half of her face. They're so big and huge. She shouldn't have to deal with, this kind of issue. So that could be something we could talk about in the future. But again, like we're gonna since we're at our hour point, we don't want to just keep on rambling on. We can leave this segment for some time in the future and pick up on it, but please give comments on that, how you feel about anything that we talked about tonight, good or bad. Just don't be negative and cut us down because we don't need that. Both of us have our insecurities and that, and we're here for you as much as you are for us. So, Gabriella, is there anything else you want to say?
But like she said, just please be kind to one another. We're not here to hurt anybody. We're not here to downgrade anybody or anything that anybody has an opinion on, and we hope that you don't do the same for us. I mean, you do the same. Wait.
You know where she's going with that. But in the meantime, then we're going to end this. We're not sure what our next topic will be, but please, if you have a suggestion or something that you really want us to discuss, we will do one for Wednesday because this week coming up, we'll do a Wednesday and a Friday. But please.
Sorry, I will try to have this out tonight before midnight, but there's no
guarantees, but for sure it will be out tomorrow. Because there's not going to be much editing. I mean, either the editing.
There's going to be the beginning, there's going to be the end.
And possible bloopers.
And probably bloopers.
Yeah, so that's when we say any.
And, maybe little things in between, but nothing cut out.
No.
No parts, put in there to make it seem like we said something we didn't, None of that. But
then again, like we said, subscribe so you can get notifications. And if you have an idea of something, like maybe we touched on something tonight that you want us to continue on.
That's what I was going to say. If we don't get any suggestions down in the comments below, then we kind of have to come up with our own. If we're not running out of them because there's so many topics. But it's just like, what do you want to discuss that day? Are you really in the mood to talk about that, or so on and so forth? So please give us suggestions down in the comments.
Yeah, we would prefer to talk about something that you actually suggested than trying to think. Well, not trying to think because we have a list of them of coming up with one of our own ideas. So
yeah.
So I guess we're going to be signing off then. So until on Wednesday, stay tuned.
And peace out.
Ready? Hi. Hola. Okay. We are back on Real Talk with
Oh, I almost spit that out. And we're back.
We had a slight little technical difficulty there. For some reason, the video just stopped for some reason. Maybe it was our orb that traveled by earlier. He stole your chair as soon as you left to fix the problem.
Pee-wee.
So as we was talking about, we was just going into Sephora, and I think I might have said that even. Why? Whoopsie.
Bro.
Uh-oh, we had another technical issue. We might have to finish up tomorrow. Or restart over, or use these as...